Welcome, everyone. I'm Wake, your host for Shaman to Shaman, where we bring you interviews, shaman to shaman, healer to healer, teacher to teacher, with shamanic earth-based healers and teachers from around the world. Today, we've invited Carla Meeske to share some of her stories of a shamanic life. Carla, welcome.
Thank you, Wake. I appreciate being here.
Carla has been offering professional shamanic healing since the 1990s and has been teaching shamanism and shamanic animal communication since 2003. Her sessions are rich and profound, mixing Celtic shamanism with techniques she has birthed through years of connection to her trusted spirit guides. Carla recognized her gifts in high school, reading Tarot and I Ching. She studied philosophy and religion in college, seeking the truth. A soul retrieval with Sandra Ingerman in 1987 rocked her world, and she began courses with a Foundation for Shamanic Studies, and upon graduation in 2000, she launched SpiritHealer.com, shamanic healing for animals and their people. Today, her Spirit Healer School of Shamanism has introduced hundreds of people to shamanic journeying and healing. Her qualified graduates are offering shamanic healing sessions around the world. It's an honor to have you as a member of Shamans Directory, Carla. And let me start here. I know you've been described as a pioneer, and that I hope you will embellish on that description. And what is it like being at the forefront?
Oh, thank you. You know, that word pioneer is interesting. I share it with a lady who lives up the street, Penelope Smith, and she started the whole business of telepathic animal communication. And when I became interested in hanging out my shingle for shamanic healing, I was living in Eugene, Oregon. I knew very little about people. I had a marketing degree. I had a finance degree. I was teaching marketing at University of Oregon, and I had a whole pile of animals. I had 10 cats, 3 dogs, 5 horses. I mean, it went on and on. And I said to myself, everybody in Eugene has their shingle hanging out doing shamanic healing for people, and they're also therapists, they're psychologists, they're all these things, and I really don't understand them, but I do understand cats and dogs. So what if I do shamanism for animals? Nobody else was doing it. Nobody. I checked with the foundation, with the people who were my teachers there. Michael, at that point, had had his stroke and wasn't taking calls. So Alicia Gates said, "Oh, that's wonderful. You should go for it." Oh, that's a good idea. And then I thought, you know what, though? I should do this over the internet. Nobody's doing that either. And they weren't. No one was teaching or doing distance sessions over the internet.
How did
So
that idea come to you?
I was teaching internet marketing at University of Oregon, teaching people how to be entrepreneurs on the internet back when we had to build websites using Dreamweaver, really early. That's how I got SpiritHealer.com, because I was one of the first. So in these regards, I'm pioneer. I asked my spirit guides, okay, so I want to work with animals, and that means I should be an animal communicator, and I'm not. And I really don't want to study with Penelope. I just want to get on with this. How do I communicate with animals? Oh, that's easy, honey. Oh, sure. You just go into your journey, but back up. You're going deep into the lower world. You're getting your journey trip together. You're going to do a healing on an animal, but you want to talk to them first? Back up. Back up to the middle world, connect with them soul to soul, have your conversation, and then get to work with the soul retrievals and the extractions and all of that. Oh, okay. And thus I became an animal communicator. It was really pretty easy.
Well, I think, Carla, that I see a reference in your materials to connecting with ancestor spirits who have had hands-on experience with animal healing. Is
Yeah,
that part of the work? Did I read that correctly? Because I
you
think
did.
go back to the source.
You did. And specifically, I just love this. I was also at that same time learning how to be a massage therapist for horses. This is because I had horses who had a lot of issues, problems, and concerns, and I couldn't afford to hire the hands-on body worker. So I'm studying that. And I've got this animal with a bad foot and I can't figure it out. So I journey and I meet an Irish farrier from God knows how long ago.
Wow.
He says, let me merge with you and let us put our hands on this horse and fix it. Check. I merge with him, put the hands on the horse and fix it. Just like that. And then I started working with him at a distance. And so when I'm doing shamanic healing at a distance, he'd come in and he would fix the problem. And he taught me how to be sensitive hands-on. He just taught me. This old Irish farrier. Great.
How fascinating. So you have an ongoing relationship with him in terms of the animal work you do.
Yes, 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 yes. So shamanic healing for animals is basically the same as it is for people, but less complicated. There's so much of the psychological issues that come in when you're healing people. They're processing the healing, how they work it into their thoughts and beliefs. That doesn't matter for animals. Animals just say, oh, yeah, thanks. That's great. Appreciate it. They just go on with their program. So when we're doing healing work for animals, we can do all of the complicated things, soul retrieval, extraction, power infusion, and it happens very quickly and it's very easy.
Well, I've seen some of your equine YouTube videos on your channel, and they're quite impactful, I think, of just seeing the response of the horses to your, I would say, gentle yet knowing touch. So you certainly have a way, and this is on the surface. So I'm not really tapping into the ancestral roots of your practice, but I can see the impact right there with your touch.
It's interesting, isn't it? That there's a bridge going on here that I think is worth noting. The man I learned healing from, hands-on massage work from, does not believe in energy work. In fact, he does not allow energy work to be put into his system. And yet, the work is simply a phenomena of a human being putting their hands on a horse in a soft, intentional way and allowing, and the horse changes. So, what does this mean for us as shamanic practitioners? It means that what we're doing is absolutely native and integrated into our physicality. And the whole process of learning shamanism is really a process of learning to get out of our own way. It's a process of rediscovering that connection to our spirit guides, to our interwovenness with all of creation, that for whatever reason, our rationality limits our perspective on it. So Jim Masterson puts his hands on the horse's bladder meridian and just holds them there, and the horse changes. Anybody can do that. They don't have to have any expectation of a physicality. They don't have to change their intention. They just touch. But when you change your intention, and when you merge with earth and sky, and you merge with your teacher, then it's supercharged, right? So we can come back to a native, just place, and then merge with our teachers and get the wisdom from our teachers and have our presence become an expansive unit of change. Pretty interesting.
Well, I'm interested, especially Carla, in this interface of compassionate spirits, which I believe is integral to Harner's work,
Yeah.
um, with uh, with the animal work itself. Like, How would you describe working with compassionate spirits for those who want to deepen their knowledge?
Well, when you begin your shamanic path, the very first thing that happens is you connect with the compassionate spirits who want to be there front and center for you, your power animal and your teacher. And that's the first step of shamanism. The second step of shamanism is learning to work with them when you're in the shamanic journey in order to accomplish anything that you're trying to accomplish in the shamanic journey, whether it's animal communication, healing, discovering what's going to happen tomorrow, whatever your purpose is of your journey, connecting to those power animals, teachers, and compassionate spirits who are your direct connection. That never changes. Throughout our shamanic path, that never changes. But then there's this thing that happens where we begin to understand that we are connected to them. And it isn't so much as our creating that connection, it's recognizing it and honoring it. And that we're connected to them even though we don't know that. That we're connected to them by the breath that we take. And that somehow we are an expression of our community of compassionate spirits, that we are part of that community, and we are an expression of them in physical form. So looking at it like that, we're like mushrooms, and the mycelium that underlays our mushroom physicality is populated by those compassionate spirits that we came from, that we're related to, that we are in inevitable association with, and that we aren't separated from them.
Well, I know you've cultivated your compassionate spirits, and you mentioned to me earlier, and I've seen a reference to it in your work about your lead guide. Would you tell us about your lead guide?
Her name is Grandmother Sunflower, and she's a nature spirit. She also appears as a wonderful grandmother. She first came to me when I was writing a book called The Calico Shaman, which was basically a book of my shamanic journeys for animals. And I journeyed to ask for an introduction to the book. And I'd been working with her, but I didn't really get it. And she said, "Let me tell you the story." And she told me the story of little cornflower, which was me, and planting a garden and getting help from spirits and going on a quest and learning how to become and learning how to prepare. And when that story was written, when it came out, I've just basically transcribed what she said. I realized that this mother of mine was my ultimate spirit guide. And since then, everything I do involves Grandmother Sunflower. She taught me how to create Spirit Healers School, which is our online community. And I was in Florida at a place that's about to become a hurricane center again. And I was journeying asking for information on what I should be doing next, because it was a change in my life, and what do I do next? And she said, "Do you see that tree?" And she showed me a ficus. And you know how those Florida ficus have those roots that go outward and then other trees come up? She said, "That tree is your community. You will create it, and it will be centered around trees. And each person who grows up in that community will become a tree that's different, and they will create community. And in this way, you will repopulate a forest around these ideas. So go for it, honey, get going." And that's how Spirit Healer Circle was born.
Somehow I believe that you are still little cornflower, but also an evolved version of who that would be. Do you have another name, or do you see yourself as little cornflower still?
I do see myself still as little cornflower. And knowing that life becomes more interesting when I'm out on the reservation lands here in Arizona, because there's a part of the aspect of grandmother sunflower which is native to this area. There's a cooperation between her Celtic self and her native self. And how this shows up is when I'm out in the desert lands, when I'm out in the grand staircase, and I journey into the rocks and I meet teachers, ancient ones. And then the teachings begin again, like, tell me about, granddaughter, let me show you the story of the 3 stones or 3 sticks. Ah, tell me about that, grandfather. The first stick, and he lays them out 1, 2, 3, like the I Ching trigram, the creative trigram, the 3 salad bars. The first one is the rock. And the rock, as you see here, so it's all this beautiful sandstone and that Utah, southern Arizona, or northern Arizona rock. The second are the forces of wind and rain and how that weathers on the rock. Because if you're up in the Colorado Plateau, you can really see all that. And he said, the third is the bush that grows out of the rock. And it does it by being in harmonic balance, by always being in balance between the rock and the forces against it. And it stands in a neutral place. It absorbs that energy and it uses the water and it uses the wind to expand its roots and to give it structure and strength in the environment. That's what people should be doing. Be the tree.
Be a tree. Well, I know that, okay, I'm going to refer to this then. I know you begin a lot of your teachings with the journey or the merging with the sacred tree. And why is that? I mean, you're referencing trees here. That feels like, I'm not sure if cornerstone is the right description, but that serves as a central modality in grounding people in your work. Tell us about the sacred roots, the special tree.
Okay, it comes from that initial journey with grandmother sunflower, and then it came from my continued journeys with her, where she said, I understand that Michael Harner did the tunnel and the thises and the that's, and you're not doing it that way. Oh, you're going to have everybody merge with their own sacred tree. And in this way, that tree, they will come to understand, is the expression of their ancestors. It's expression of everything they have been and everything they will become. They will come to know this. But you'll start by having them just go to their place in nature, which she'd already taught me all of that, the whole business of using your 5 senses to step into non-ordinary reality. So she taught me that. And oh, by the way, a lot of people use that now.
Pioneer, once again, Carla.
I introduced that to the world in a DVD that I did, oh God, when my niece was still in college, I guess, 25 years ago, something like that. So now it's everywhere, which is great. But do that, get all your 5 senses aligned in a special place in nature that you know and love, and then ask for a sacred tree to be presented. Ask for one to show up. And it may or may not be indigenous. It may have nothing to do with your area. It doesn't make any difference. It may change. Just choose one. Just go with it. And then merge with it. And then begin the whole Celtic process of reaching deep into the earth and pulling power up into your 3 cauldrons and bringing power down into your upper cauldron, merging it into the middle cauldron, and having that whole Celtic thing. So the tree became our bridge for the Celtic cauldron work. And then the tree became a special holding space, a personal sacred space where you could meet ancestors and have tea and do stuff. And then the tree became the route through which we travel to go and connect to others. And then all of our trees come together and they become the grove that she initially showed me. And in the center becomes this pool of power, which we as a circle then call upon to have our spirit guides, our helping spirits, take that power outward to deliver to healing for other purposes.
What a rich set of experiences that you're speaking of, Carla. And I know that you live a full life, a full shamanic life, and a full life in all ways. And if someone wanted to be more acquainted with your work, either personally or for their own animals, what is available to people to get to know you more and engage in your work?
Well, at Spirit Healer Circle, we have 3 or 4 free things. You can learn the sacred root journey to do all of that I just talked about with merging with your tree. You can learn to merge with your power animal and do power animal dance. And there's a couple other things that are free. And then we have a program which is virtually free. We have an ongoing community, a membership program. It's $29 a month for all you can journey, all you can learn. Just great. People are devoted to it. We have 8 sessions a month included in that $29. And in addition to that, and during those sessions, I am determined to teach everything I know, but it just takes time. So everything I know how to teach, I teach during that membership program cycle. And I've taught about half of it so far. All of that is available to members on recording. I got another half to go before I start over again or start new. So we have years of recordings behind us and years of recordings coming, and 8 sessions a month where people come together and we do learning, healing work, socializing, all these wonderful things. In addition, one of my students who's become very, very, very good, she's leading the Shamanism for Animals intensive beginning in January. And in the intensive program, for 10 weeks, you learn core shamanism, that being the term for the way Michael Harner taught shamanism, right? So you start with extraction and power infusion and all these things that are part of the foundation for shamanic studies, definition of core shamanism. I teach that, or Karen now teaches it, in the context of healing animals over a 10-week concentrated course. And that gives a person enough experience and chops and confidence to really begin to expand, especially as part of the community circle. So that happens in January, and that is not part of the course. That's an additional fee. I think it's $1,000, something like that.
So there are plenty of ways to engage, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
And let's touch on some other aspect of your work, Carla. I know that when we spoke earlier, you mentioned, and you've certainly gone into some expression of your animal work. And then there's this other part that's illustrated by the photography by you. And astro shamanism or cosmic shamanism, something about photography and night and light and journey. That sounds very engaging to me. What's that about?
Okay, thank you for asking. Back in the day, I was a devoted student of Claude Poncelet. And Claude worked for the foundation and as their European instructor. Also, he had a series of courses on cosmic shamanism, shape-shifting and other things he liked. Claude was an astrophysicist, and his mission in life was to merge astrophysics and core shamanism in a way that was absolutely authentic. It wasn't branding the word quantum to try to come up with a new healing system. It wasn't that kind of addition of science and shamanism. It was his recognizing that science was finding stuff out and learning about things, learning about objects in the universe, and his fascination with them and desire to get to know those objects shamanically. So he taught a workshop called Spirits of the Cosmos, which I took several times. And he wrote a book called The Shaman Within, which had all of his cosmos work plus his other work, all the journeys laid out. Somehow he knew he was sick. He got the book done, and then he passed from cancer. So that book is what I teach from for cosmic shamanism. We start there. And we discover that we are mirrors of the cosmos. Pretty cool. That led me out onto an expedition, onto going out and seeing the stars, and then photographing the stars. And now, when I'm out there, merging with the sky, merging with the landscape, asking that I become a bridge, that the photograph become an expression of the spirits of earth and sky together, and that somehow I come to know who I am, who we are, and how the spirits of the Milky Way, the spirits of the cosmos, can come to the aid of Earth as she's going through these trials and tribulations, through this tremendous change. So I don't know what we're doing, but I keep trying.
Well, it seems very strikingly fundamental, Carla, because I think of the indigenous ones of long ago. The starscape was everything. At least it populated the night and served as guidance and reflection. So I feel like you're going back to ancient truths or discovering anew what has been easily ignored with light pollution and the like.
Boy, isn't that the truth. And there's kind of two branches to it. So if I'm sitting out underneath the Milky Way, and I can be out for hours getting my shots, and I'm staring up. This happened the other night. I was at a place called Hot Creek, which is a boiling creek. You know, it's got geothermal action in the eastern Sierras. So I'm at Hot Creek, and the canyon comes down like this. The Milky Way is dropping right into the center, and I'm photographing it coming across the sky. And I'd been working on a personal issue. There'd been some hubba in my life, and I wanted to transmute it. And we know that we can transmute through the core of the Milky Way with the black hole in the core of the Milky Way. So I was looking at the black hole, Sagittarius A, and asking for that transmutation. And my vision spanned outward, and I saw Sagittarius, who aims the bow into the core of the Milky Way, and Scorpius, whose tail is coming down to swat at the core of the Milky Way. And I felt that dynamic between them. And then I saw them converge and take that trauma, and it went into the core of the Milky Way, and it all got resolved. I thought, ooh, this is very good. And I felt like I was getting a story out of those two constellations that was different than what we might have gotten from the Greeks and the Romans. And then I felt my attention being pulled upward, upward. And I was looking at the region of the Milky Way called the Cygnus region, where there's an awful lot of new star formation. There's gaseous clouds that form new stars. And I just sort of made note of that and sort of looked at that and made note of it. And then later I came home and I needed to do a journey, and I needed to have pulsars be a big part of it for this client. And I've got this idea, maybe I should find out where the pulsars are in the Milky Way. Wouldn't that be nice? Where's the closest pulsar in the Milky Way? Well, it's in Cygnus. And it's in Aquila, in the Eagle Nebula. So that just that kind of a thing can happen. If you're looking up at the sky and you're just sort of trying to figure out where the constellations are, you can start creating relationships with the constellations, the spirits of the constellations that have the story behind them, plus the objects in those constellations, which have spirit and have purpose to help us. I don't know. That's part of my nightly musings.
That's exciting to me, Carla, because it feels like it's something you're truly personally engaged in, and that it's fresh and new, and you're offering it in class form as well. Is that right?
Yes, yes. Spirits of the Cosmos will, it's going to happen again in spring of 2025. I'm in the middle right now of a editing cycle. I have my major show, my art show coming up, and this room becomes filled with night sky images. And until that happens, I'm not thinking about anything else because I have so much editing to do.
I just have to ask, Carla, do you also teach the photography aspect of this work? You let people do that on their own.
Yeah, there's other photographers who are way better at that than I am.
Um, we can't wait to see your show. I think that let us be the judge of that. You know, you may be at the forefront. I must ask you, since we began with you being a pioneer, what's next? What do you see for the directions you're headed? What do you see as engaging you most going forward now?
I need to get people out in the field with the stars. I need to, the workshop idea, yes, but not as a photography workshop. More like, yeah, you can use your iPhone to do this. Any kind of camera will work. It's not about becoming a photographer, but it is about having a shamanic experience being under the stars. Because, with the light pollution, the vast majority of people who vast majority of people don't know where the Milky Way is. They walk into my office, they say, what is that? I say, that's the Milky Way. Really? You can see that? And truthfully, you can if you get into somewhat of a dark place, but most people don't. Most people don't know. So that's a mission.
Before taking your class then, Carla, before taking your cosmic class, the astral shamanism, what is a practice or two that people can engage in with the night sky?
Well, thankfully, we have computers, and we can look at an app called Stellarium. And if you look at Stellarium and you choose your location, it will show you what is in the night sky, even though you can't see it. And our first instinct is to look for the constellations that we know from the astrology, right? The constellations along the ecliptic, which are the astrological constellations, Sagittarius, Cancer, and so forth. And that's great. But there's a lot more out there, a lot more constellations out there, and all of them have stories, and all of them have personal stories for you. So I would say you pull up your night sky on your computer because you can't see it because you live in an apartment in LA, and you pull up your night sky and you ask, what of these constellations are you drawn to? So let's say, for example, because I said Aquila earlier, that you're drawn to Aquila, to the eagle, journey to Aquila. What message have you for me? How can I learn from you? How can I partner with you? And then, if I did get out to where it's dark, how could I find you in the sky? And then the process begins, the magic of getting in the car and going out to the Alabama hills, because that's where you can see them, because you live in LA, and don't go to Joshua because you can't see them. It isn't dark enough. Go to the Alabama hills and the Eastern Sierras, look up and begin. That's
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that, Carla. I feel like you've opened up a new universe for us. And I think that's what the pioneer must be all about.
I think so. And thank you for reinforcing that. I really do feel that shamanism is it's about rediscovery. It's about the ancient ones coming back through and trying to teach us what they knew that's been lost. I mean, Michael Harner told this fantastic story, and this is how I remember it, whether or not that's the truth. The way I remember it is that he said that after the wall came down and the Russians were no longer murdering shamans, that the Tuvans wanted to recover their shamanic knowledge. And so Michael and some of his cohorts went in, and through journeying, through collective journeying with the Tuvans, they began to recover the knowledge that had been lost. And now it is reseated. And he had us do that in the 3-year program, recovering lost knowledge. He said that's what the ghost dance was all about. I don't think I was supposed to say that, but I'm sorry, Michael. He said that's what the ghost dance was all about. And so the process of working with your spirits, especially as a group, to work with spirit to recover lost knowledge and then to make it part of our shamanic practice, that's really, really important. And what's also important is to say, and look what we clever people have brought to the party. We have telescopes now that tell us that. We have science now that tells us that. We now understand that. Let's journey with our ancient ones and with our new knowledge and discover the shamanic way of seeing modern science. That's what I think is cool.
You're a science shaman.
Yeah, without the I just want to say, without the branding of trying to become a system that uses the word quantum. I just want to say, without no guru zone, 0 gurus allowed.
I just like how you're integrating your whole being into what engages you shamanically, that you are not afraid, you're encouraged to go to places that you're unsure of, but you know have meaning.
It's true. Have forerunner will travel.
I want to just spend a minute, if you don't mind. You're part of the membership of Shamans Directory. You're a valued member for the reasons that you've shown us today. Do you have anything, any words to offer about the value of Shamans Directory, bringing shamans to light, bringing them together, holding the sacred fire that we're all stewarding? What is the value of Shamans Directory to you?
I love that Shamans Directory is cross-cultural and that it reaches into every nook and cranny of people who are doing really good work and brings them all together so that people who are seeking can find that thing, that person, that technique, that style, that way that resonates with them. Because each of us comes to this from our ancestral roots, that we come to it from our interests. So everyone who's seeking shamanism comes at it from their particular lens, and they don't even know what that lens is. Like somebody might find that they're attracted to Peruvian shamanism and not have any idea why. Or another person may say, that just doesn't resonate with me. I love Japanese shamanism. And they might not know why. And another person may say, I feel this Celtic beating in my bones, or whatever it is. And this is the one place that brings that all together and gives the complete menu of authentic shamanic practice for a person to be able to find that thing that resonates with them.
That's great, Carla. I really appreciate your expression of support for bringing the knowledge forward, no matter what the origin, and bringing the work and the medicine as a combination of who the individual really is, and bringing that forward. That's a unique approach, and I appreciate that expression. Anything else before we go? You've been so generous with your time and your creativity. I love dancing on the edge with you and finding out about your traditional work as well, that Celtic shamanism, compassionate spirits, helping spirits, all that is very good work. Anything
Thank
else
you.
you'd like to offer?
No, I really appreciate you, and I can't believe that you've asked me to interview with you. Thank you. It's really an honor and a privilege.
Thank you. My one last question, Carla, is I can't help but be engaged by the door that is showing behind you. What is so engaging about a door?
The whole idea of a portal is something, a mystery behind it. We don't know what it is. And as a backdrop, it's a frame. That's always nice to have a frame. I don't know. Doors have and especially old doors, just are intriguing.
As are you, Carla.
Thank you.
And to all those watching, thank you for joining us for our Shaman to Shaman interview. This is the way we get to know one another. And we thank you, Carla, for sharing your stories, your vision, the way you came to your work, what intrigues you now, and what you and your colleagues offer to the world. And
Thank you.
please look at Carla's profile in shamansdirectory.com and her beautiful website, which references to are at the bottom of the screen. And the YouTube channel, as I mentioned, has very engaging videos of the animal work and other talks that Carla has offered. By visiting shamansdirectory.com, you can also learn more about many of the other exciting healers and teachers in the directory. Our YouTube channel will guide you to these interviews, replays of live events, selected presentations, and our Cosmic Fire Summit. Until next time, this is Wake. We'll see you at the fire around our shared flame. I really appreciate your time and inspiration, Carla, and Tupanachi's Kama, as they say in the Andes. I'll experience you again in the future in some fashion.
All right. Thanks, Wake.
Thank you.
Bye.